What's up, everybody? Welcome to a live episode of Game Time here on the Game Time Sports Channel. I am the Outlaw John Rogan, joined as always by this gentleman over there, Winston A. Marshall. Not wearing the Cowboys jersey tonight, even though your boys are playing tonight.
Only because I don't think we will lose to the Bengals. I mean, Joe Burrow is playing like a man possessed, which sucks because, in my opinion, even with what Saquon's doing and what Josh is doing, Burrow's numbers are ungodly, but you're on a team that has let you down time and again, so it doesn't matter. And that's the sad part.
I know. Last week they had a really legitimate shot and then just couldn't get a job done. And it just becomes over and over again. You know, we know this, Winston. We've watched our teams for years, for decades. You know that sometimes it just ain't your season. No matter what you do, no matter what you try to do, no matter the fact you might have improved, your players came back. Sometimes it just ain't your season.
It's just not it. It's just not it. And that sucks. Because the other thing, and that this is something that has been talked about up and down by so many other talking heads, is the idea that, like, again, you're wasting a generational talent.
Oh my God.
You are wasting him because when you look at his performance, with the exception of the injuries, which have been a thing. I'll close this in just a second.
No worries.
Hold on. Give me a second.
Shoot him.
The only things that have really stopped him is either A, because the rest of the team on defense has kind of failed him, or B, injuries. But other than that, he is always doing what needs to be done properly. And so I just don't think it's fair to be like, hey, you're the one letting them down. Like, I get it. You're the quarterback. They're going to do that. But he doesn't play defense. So it's not like James Harden where it's like, I put up 60, but I let them put up 92 because every time they need to come at me, they just go at me and be like, well, go ahead. I don't like. So that's not what's happening. And the proof of that is you look at what the heroics Josh Allen just tried to pull.
Yeah.
And the Rams finished them. Or what Herbert just did. And then you dunk your way to a dunk for the division is what they're doink for the division is what they're calling it. So that is what it is, man.
Doink vision. That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely
not doink vision.
We're going to jump into everything that Winston is referencing and talking about here and get into the games and see what happened and who's. I mean, because Winston, we're making that turn. The playoffs are in sight. Teams are getting mathematically eliminated. Teams are clinching berths. Teams are clinching division titles. So, we've turned that corner now. We have to start looking at placement and seeding and who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. And I can't wait later on to get your thoughts on this because we got 3 teams right now that are fighting for that 7th spot in the NFC. And 2 good teams are not going to make it. The Rams, as we're going to start off talking about here in just a second, have turned that corner. The 49ers might be able to piece together what's left of their team and make a run. And then you've got the Commanders coming off of that bye week after taking care of business against the Titans, but having lost 3 straight until they played the Titans. What are they going to do over the last few weeks? So it's going to be a crazy ending to the NFC division for sure. And then the AFC, you've got them Dolphins trying to hang around, trying to sneak in to these playoffs with Tua. So we got a lot to discuss on the show today. But just want to remind you all to please remember that Streamlabs are the only way you can send in support for the show right now. If you want to send in some love, send in your Streamlabs. Fredtastic already sent one. The address is right above our heads there, pinned, and it's also pinned in the chat if you want to send some love to us as we go along. But thanks for joining us live, and please feel free to have the Bengals-Cowboys game on another screen. Let's get to the first one here. You mentioned it, and we should start off. This was the game of the weekend. Absolutely. Josh Allen here set an NFL mark with 3 touchdown passes and 3 touchdown runs, but it was not enough to hold off the Rams here as the Rams got the victory 44-42. Matt Stafford, the old man, still doing it here, passed for 320 yards, hit Puka Nacua for a 19-yard touchdown with 154 to play, and they held on for the victory. Josh Allen threw for 342 yards, rushed for 82 yards for the Bills, who hadn't lost since October 6th in Houston. And as I said, with 3 rushing touchdowns and 3 towing touchdowns, he's the first NFL player ever in the history of the NFL to do that. which is pretty incredible, but it still wasn't enough. I mean, the Rams and the Bills combined for 902 yards of offense, Winston, without a turnover or a quarterback stack. That's the first time that's ever happened since the 1960s. Los Angeles had the ball 17 more minutes and ran 18 more plays than Buffalo. And Nakua had 12 catches for 162 yards. But in the end, as I said, they didn't do enough. The Bills did, and the Rams got the victory. So, I mean, I put it in the title of the show. I think this pretty much locked down Josh Allen for MVP, even though he didn't win. But, the Rams got the victory here. So what do you take out of this game from both of these teams?
I don't think so. I think that he is still, if not the front runner, front runner. I genuinely think because of the rate that if Saquon finishes this, if Saquon gets the rushing title, or not just the rushing title, excuse me, if he breaks the record for the Dickerson's record for most rushing yards in a season, not only should he get the MVP, I would be mad if he didn't. And that's saying something with him being an Eagle, which is crazy. And that doesn't take anything away from what Josh Allen did, but
yes,
it's unheard. It literally is unheard of since Dickerson did it back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the odds of it happening again are insanely low. And B, I get that it is still a quarterback award, but this is a situation where it's not like you could have the argument with wide receiver with Tyreek Hill, where it's like, well, half of your thing is going to be based upon your quarterback doing that.
Right.
It is your line. So you can make the argument that the quarterback couldn't do it if he didn't have protection to keep him upright in the first place to do that. But Saquon has nothing to do with what Jalen is doing to do this. You know what I'm saying? And you took what was arguably, I would also say, look at the two teams before last season and what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then look at them now. And you could even throw in with Saquon, look at the situation that he left.
Yeah.
And what happened to them without him there. So you went from a team at the bare minimum that was winning somewhere around 5-6 games. Not great, but it's something. It's clear that was all him.
Yeah.
Because now they've won, 3?
Yeah.
And then the Eagles went from, we went to the Super Bowl, we look sus as hell, to, oh my God, are the Eagles the best team in football? And there are some juggernauts out there in the Lions and the Bills and things like that. So you know what I'm saying? I do not think this is locked up at all. It really depends on how we finish now. I just think it's a 2-horse race currently between Allen and Barkley.
I don't think anyone else gets in the mix. This is Lamar's had too many losses, too many bad performances in the last few weeks. I think it's absolutely Josh Allen or Saquon. I don't think anyone else is in the mix right now. Jaden could have had a shot if they had gotten a couple of those victories instead of 3 straight losses. I think Jaden would have been in the conversation. But at this point, I think it's between the two guys. Just right now, I give it to Josh because of what Josh is doing, and he is leading that team. But you can make a great case, and you make a great case now. The Eagles offense, as we saw from A.J. Brown and a couple of the other receivers, it is sucking major ass. Kellen Moore is getting a lot of shit for this offense. And if it wasn't for Barkley's rushing, 124 yards again against the Panthers, the Eagles might not be winning these 9 games in a row that they've won, Winston. So it's true.
Yeah. I guess that's just my whole thing is that the reason why the two are in the conversation, they're winning, and it's a scenario where they wouldn't even be a thing, I guess, if it wasn't for these players, because everybody thought, oh, you let Stephon go, they're going to take a massive step back. You lost major pieces on defense, and the Bills are rolling. Yep. You can say the same thing, though, about the Eagles. You were like, okay, well, they brought in Saquon. How much is that going to change? They were already Super Bowl caliber. They went, blah, blah, blah. They just had to they look more terrifying than when they went to the Super Bowl. I actually think if they played, let's say it was a rematch of that year, Chiefs ain't doing no three-peat. Let's be really real right now. The Eagles they're what I believe, if I last checked, they're currently the number 1 defense. They are putting up an insane amount of points right now, and the Chiefs keep squeaking to around 19 at kind of capping off at that.
Right.
With these kind of teams like the Lions and the Eagles, I don't know if that's going to get it done, honestly.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of so then the Bills, to you, this was a good game, just to get the job done, but they're still one of the best teams in NFL right now, right? You would say that. So what do we think about the Rams here, man? The Rams getting it done, getting this victory. It finally looks like they're healthy here. So do the Rams go on a late season run, knock out the Commanders, knock out the 49ers, take that division, take that finals, or take that spot there in the division, and maybe, I don't know, knock out any other team from the NFC West of getting in there? What's your thoughts?
I mean, the problem is they started enough behind. They're not super behind. The Seahawks are only a game behind, but
Right. And the Seahawks look good yesterday.
they look good, and they're keeping pace. So as long as they're keeping pace like that, you're going to run into issues. So just looking at like the Seahawks remaining schedule, the Packers, it's going to be a rough game, but they can do it. They got the Vikings, is a rough game, but they can do it. The Bears should be a cakewalk, and then they can essentially fight for the division to end it with the Rams, right?
Yeah, it's the Rams last game. Yeah.
So then, like looking at the Rams schedule, let's take a look really quickly. They've got the Niners, which the way, even though the Niners got the win, Niners are not good. Like they're too injured, things like that. I think they're very gettable.
I think the Rams are coming in with much more firepower than the 49ers to that situation. Yes,
they are. And then when you throw in the fact that McVay keeps having Shanahan's number, like it seems to be a continuous thing where like they go back and forth, but a team that quote unquote should be less than them.
Yeah,
McVay always figures it out somehow, more or less. But then you continue on with what? The Jets, that should be a layup. The Cardinals, it's a division game, but they're very Jekyll and Hyde. And then again, you play the Seahawks for division. So I think the Rams have an easier path.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about having the one game advantage here. And right now that is what's teeter-tottering for them. So I think the Rams will make the playoffs. I'm not concerned about that per se, but I don't think they're necessarily going to win the division.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting situation because like they're going to have to go through 3 division opponents in 4 weeks. That is a hell of an ask, right? From the 49ers to the Cardinals to the Seahawks, that's divisional wins, right? Divisional losses. And so they've got to navigate that. And if they come out the other side of that with victories in all 3 of those games, I think they win the division by the record, but also by winning these games against division opponents here to finish out the season. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch to see what happens, because every team in that damn division is Jekyll and Hyde. Every single team is Jekyll and Hyde. At any moment, Seattle can start, Geno can start another 3 interception game, or they can score 30 on the Cardinals and blow them out at home. So you just never know. The Rams too, they could completely fall apart. Arizona could all of a sudden go on a 4-game run. There's just madness all around. And if Frisco has turned it around with Juwan Jennings and has patched up some holes and made some changes, maybe they could go on a run. So it's just madness all around with this division. And I wonder if 2 teams make it out, or if only the division winner makes it out, because there's so much Jekyll and Hyde and they're playing each other to end the season. So much, So
yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely very curious.
Yeah,
but I will say at the very least, again, by it being a game currently, their destiny is in their control right now.
Yes. Agreed. Let's move on to the next game here. Let's talk about it. The Sean Brennan special here. Let's talk about these Chiefs. As you were mentioning here, Winston got the job done late last night, won their 9th straight AFC West title, beating the Chargers 19-17 on a Doink field goal here. The 3rd-string kicker put that thing through the uprights. Matthew Wright, well, not through the uprights, but certainly, well, I guess through the uprights, but barely. Matthew Wright kicking that 4th field goal of the game to get the victory there for the Chiefs. The Chiefs had 3 different kickers make game-winning field goals this season as time expired. No other team in NFL history has had more than 1 kicker do so in a single season. That's insane what's going on with Kansas City. They have won 10 straight 1-score games dating to last season. It's a mind-blowing situation. They were up 13-0 at the half, and then the Chargers came back, and the Chiefs did just enough to win this game here, but they looked pedestrian. They looked in trouble. They looked like they had issues that second half until the Chargers went up. And then Mahomes ran one of his classic 5-minute drills all the way down the field to put them in position to kick that field goal. It is insane how much they have escaped the hangman's noose all season. And here they are sitting atop the AFC as the Bills have tumbled and other teams have tumbled. And they look like they might have home field advantage if they hold on in some of these upcoming games. What are your thoughts coming out of this game here about the Chiefs and about the Chargers, who are trying to look like contenders, but in the end, kind of fell out as pretenders. So what are your thoughts here, man?
I wouldn't call them so much pretenders. I mean, Herbert
Okay.
still had 213 and a touchdown off 21 of 30. Like, you got Gus, you didn't get a lot. Like, collectively, they had 94 rushing yards. So you definitely want to do a little better about that. But the one thing that the Chiefs still do is they still have Chris Jones down there and having a very strong rush defense. That's what they do exceptionally well. I will just say, as far as things go for the Chiefs, and this is the one thing that I will give credit, I want to say it was probably Shady McCoy that said, he's like, look, everybody loves to call the Chiefs lucky. Yeah. This isn't like the Eagles last year where it was like you genuinely backpedaled into these wins.
Yeah.
This is a situation where watching the Chiefs, you're like, damn, I do wish y'all could be a little better, but you've had the injury bug that's going. If we remember the fact that every playoff game, your season gets extended by that much, there's a lot going on that will do that, but they keep finding a way to win. And again, it's not an ugly, the team self-destructed kind of way.
Right.
It's time to go. And they do it. That Mahomes puts you there. And so what Shady was saying about luck is that type of thing that the people that seem that they're always really lucky tend to be the ones that are actually the most prepared.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is just straight luck.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it just bounced off the thing. So there's a little tinge of luck that kicker did doink it for the division, right?
Yeah.
But you had to be there to get it. He had to get it in the same. So he clearly practiced enough for it to even be within the range to do that.
Yeah.
There are just the Chiefs have set themselves up and practiced the right way that even when it is ugly, they don't make it look ugly. The weird part is just that we're like, why is it so tight?
Yeah.
And that was the difference with last year when I look at, again, Jalen Hurts, turnover central. You dropping open pass. Like, there was a lot of things that did not look good. And we could have said that about the Chiefs last year because of these losses off of 7 drop balls a game, which is crazy.
Right.
So with that, they are just in a situation where it looks like they are finally just getting themselves kind of set to go. But can they go the distance with this amount of firepower that we are seeing in these other teams? I'm genuinely curious. I am genuinely curious to see what happens.
I know it's a fascinating situation because you look at the numbers here. Mahomes passed Dan Marino for the most passing yards in the first 8 years of his career. That's a hell of a thing to hang on your resume at this point in your existence as an NFL quarterback. They were up 13-0. And the Chargers came back. So the Chargers had to kind of wake up a little bit, and they withstood that charge and got the victory anyway, the Chiefs did. But, I mean, Mahomes was sacked 3 times and has taken 13 sacks over the past 3 games. That's the most of any 3-game stretch in his career. So they are prepared, but every team is coming trying to give them their best shot. But the Chiefs are withstanding it, and through strokes of luck, and you could say, as you said, preparedness, but strokes of luck, they're winning these games. A field goal that doinks in instead of doinks out, a botched snap, a blocked field goal out of nowhere in Denver. It's an interesting situation because it feels very similar to the Patriots. How many one-score Super Bowls did the Patriots win when they could have absolutely lost those one-score games in the Super Bowl? I'm thinking of the Seahawks. I'm thinking of the Falcons game. Their first game against the Rams went under the Tom Brady's era. So there's a lot of the Panthers game. There's a lot of one-score games, and they get the job done. The Chiefs have this pedigree now that they've developed, this muscle they've developed to win these tight games because they know and they trust that the other team is going to fall apart from the pressure, and they've been there. So it's an interesting situation. But, Winston, it also feels like at some point it's got to break. At some point it's got to break, and I just feel like it's going to happen in the playoffs, and they're going to get blown out like 45-10 or something. And that's when everything's going to come to balance the scales out. But who knows with the Chiefs, man? Who the fuck knows?
I feel you. And I just have to say, because I do have the game on mute right now.
Yeah.
I'm watching the Simpsons broadcast. I just watched Homer Simpson throw a damn touchdown to CeeDee Lamb and donuts exploded everywhere. This is so stupid. This is so stupid.
They're like, we do it for this game. We do it for this game.
But I say all this to say, man, like
Yeah.
again, you have put a winning formula. You have had a situation of making sure they're prepared to go. So don't ever count the Chiefs out.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
anybody that does at this point, anybody that's betting against them,
Yeah.
you're at this point, you're betting against Superman. You're betting against Batman. You're betting against Goku. They really rarely, very rarely actually lose. It does not mean that it doesn't happen.
Right.
But I'm not taking that bet. Like, I'm really not. And like, even to the point where the loss to the Bills that happened earlier this season, looking back at that, like remembering that game, like, yeah, Josh Allen played exceptionally well, but like that shit was close. Like, that was not a layup on the Bills' behalf. That what they had to ball out to make that happen. And we've seen in the past in these AFC title games, it's Joe Burrow playing MVP caliber football to take you to the Super Bowl. It's what? Who did they play the other year? They didn't make it recently.
When the Chiefs didn't make it?
What I'm trying to think what other AFC team has been to the Super Bowl in recent years. Has there been any? Am I losing my mind? It was just the Bengals, right?
It was just the Bengals, it seems like, since Mahomes was there. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. They just keep going. Like, what are you going to do?
Right, exactly. It's just like the Patriots. And them winning this division, that's the 9th division title they've won. It's 2 short of the Patriots won. I think they won 11, the Patriots. So it's a crazy thing to have this happening right after the Patriots dynasty just ended. Now it feels like the Chiefs dynasty is in motion. And just like Tom Brady, a makeshift receiving core, a decent set of running backs, but a strong defense and a quarterback that can somehow make the plays when he needs to make the plays. And Mahomes is that in spades. And I'm looking at the AFC right now from 1 to 10. I don't trust any team right now to legitimately beat these Chiefs. The Bills certainly have a voodoo on them with the Chiefs in the playoffs, not in the regular season. Do I trust Russell Wilson against Patrick Mahomes? No, I don't. Do I trust the Houston Texans against the Chiefs? No, I don't. Do I trust the Jekyll and Hyde Ravens? No. The Chargers, Broncos, Colts, or Dolphins or Bengals? I don't trust any of these teams to beat the Chiefs. I think the only teams that can beat the Chiefs right now in the NFL are probably the Detroit Lions and maybe the Philadelphia Eagles in a rematch of that Super Bowl from 2 years ago. So
if you're talking specifically Super Bowl, I only trust those two currently because two Jekyll and Hyde on the Packers front, the Seattle Seahawks front, the Buccaneers front, the Rams front, the Cowboys, since we're technically still in it, the Niners, since they're technically still in it, everybody on the NFC side, with the exception of the top 2 teams right now, Jekyll and Hyde. I'm not saying that the Vikings couldn't also do it with their 11-2 and what they've been pulling off, but I'll be honest with you, it's my first year seeing Sam Darnold do this.
Yes.
I trust Patrick Mahomes infinitely more than I do Sam Darnold, no matter how good the Vikings are playing. 100%. You go back to the AFC, so the road to get there, look, the Bills, the Steelers, and I would say probably the Ravens are really the only 3 teams that I see that could potentially legitimately stop them.
Yeah.
Obviously, any playoff team is in contention to do something, but those are the only ones that I have some monicum of faith. But the closest to that would be the Bills, and I give it 51-49 Mahomes over Allen.
Yeah. We're gonna see. I mean, like as Sean is excitingly pointed out. Like, it looks like it's going to be the Chiefs holding that home field advantage. You've got to go into cold-ass Arrowhead and beat these Chiefs. You got to beat them on their own turf if you want a shot at the title. And look, that should be the way it is. You got to beat the champs to be the champ, and there's nothing wrong with that down the road. So we will see. We will see when it comes to pass. All right, let's move on to this other game, man. Let's talk about Sam Darnold. You just mentioned him just now. Sam Darnold and these Vikings take care of business, absolutely embarrassing these Falcons in the fourth quarter. It was 21-21, and then the Vikings just completely pulled away here, 42-21 to get the victory here. Sam Darnold threw for 347 yards and 5 touchdowns to beat the Falcons. Weren't they trying to trade this guy like 5 weeks ago? But now he is, after having a bit of a rough patch in the middle of the season, it looks like he's righted the ship, and he is on board with these Vikings and taking them to pay dirt consistently week after week. Cousins looks gassed, man. He looks finished. I know he threw for 344 yards, 23 of 37, but 2 bad interceptions after 4 terrible interceptions last week. And you're looking at this team now, and the Vikings are starting to believe in themselves. This is the crazy thing. And this is such a typical Vikings team. Going crazy in the regular season, but a lot of doubts going into the playoffs. And so to me right now, this is exciting. 11-2. No one had this with Sam Darnold at quarterback for the Vikings, but clearly the coaches have got them in the right position, and they're believing in each other, and they're handling their business, and they're holding the nerve in tight games and pulling away. So to me, overall, this speaks volumes about the Vikings, how strong they are right now. And I think the Falcons are going to start fading away sooner rather than later. What are your thoughts on this game coming out of about both of these teams?
I think we're watching another NFC South year where
Oh God,
you might end up with a situation of like a losing team backpedals into the playoffs, and that was the year. It was actually the very famous year of I take that wait, maybe that math is wrong. I'm getting it backwards. That was an NFC West year where the Seahawks did it, went and played the Saints at home.
Yes.
The Saints had to go to Seattle because they were division winner, and then you had the Beastquake. So, it's one of those things, man. The Vikings, like any other team that's showing success, because they remind me of the Cowboys of a few years ago.
Yeah.
Your offense is blowing people out of the water. Your defense is actually holding strong.
Yeah.
Until you go and prove that this is not just a regular season thing, like most people say in life, you are who you are until you prove otherwise.
Yeah.
And at this particular juncture, they haven't proved. They've done this before. They did this a couple years ago with Kirk Cousins, where they looked like world beaters. Both of us said they were sus, and then they lost to the Giants. So, like, who knows? Like, let's hope that this Darnold magic, he doesn't revert to a pumpkin the minute we hit January, because that would be tragic for them. But somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. And I think that they're as good as they are. I think that there are more lethal teams there. I think they win at least one game, but I don't know if they win more than that, depending on right now I forgot. They don't have the division. So if they were to play the Vikings.
Vikings
right now, they would play the Bucks.
Right.
Yeah, I think they would play the Bucks at home, but I think they win that.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But then I think if that's the case, odds are they most likely are a little lower.
Yeah.
In which case of the rest of the stuff going on. So in that case, you have to play the Lions. I think the Lions dog walk them.
Yeah, I think the Lions would actually handle their business. I don't see any team that can beat the Lions in the NFC this side of the Eagles. I really don't. And even the Eagles are a little suspect with that passing offense. But I think those are the only teams that can beat. That's the only team, rather, that I think I could believably see beating the Lions right now. They look so stacked. But that being said, Sam Darnold, he's got his 10.5 yard average depth of target for this game was the third highest of the week. He attempted 13 passes of at least 10 air yards, completed 10 of them for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns. And this was incredible. He gashed the Falcons defense with play action, 11.4 yards per play, and without it, he went 9.2 yards per play. He hardly missed a throw, completing 81% of his passes of 10 yards or fewer. And of course, he threw that incredible 40-yard pass to Justin Jefferson after that blown coverage. So this is going to be interesting. And Justin Jefferson after the game said, this is what we're supposed to do week after week. This is what this offense is. So if maybe they've crossed the Rubicon here with Sam Darnold, it's going to be an interesting situation going into these playoffs. Could this be the Vikings team that gets to the Super Bowl? My God. Yes.
Well, I always made the argument that as crazy as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are, I honestly think that the best wide receiver duo in football is Addison and Jefferson. If Addison is healthy, because remember last year, poor JJ got hurt.
Yes.
So he really wasn't around. And then this year, Addison has been hurt so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if they're both healthy, I know that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are good. I know that Puka and Kupp are really good.
Yeah.
Addison could go be a number one right now on another team.
Right.
And could be in the conversation for like big time contract. Cooper Kupp has lost a little bit of a step. He's still the man, but he's lost a little bit of a step. It reminds me of when you had Julio and Roddy White. Julio finally started to make that push, and Roddy was still hella good, but he went from being the guy to being, he went from being Batman to being Robin. That's essentially what happened there. And I think that that's happened with Nakua. I think Nakua has taken that. looking at the other wide receiver duos in the league right now, obviously the more solid core with the Chiefs, but it's not there. Solid core with the Bills, but it's not there. Collins, you lost Diggs. Dell hasn't been showing up. I don't know a better. Hey, I'm a F somebody up right now. Than these two. And the proof is they essentially had the same stats. 8 receptions, 133, 3 touchdowns, 7 receptions, 132, 2 touchdowns. Balling. So,
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how much of this is real, how much of this is a regular season fool's gold. Once the playoffs kick off here, we see what Sam Darnold and the Vikings have. But what would you do if you were the coach of the Falcons, man? Is it time to cut bait on Kirk Cousins? Is it time to move on to Michael Penix Jr.? Is it time for Kirk Cousins to have a mysterious Achilles heel issue and shut him down for the season? What are your thoughts on this? Do they just want to wait this out? I mean, Raheem Morris said they're sticking with him, but why wouldn't you make the change just to see what you got in this young kid? Bo Nix is killing it. Jaden Daniels is killing it. Caleb has had some bad games, but Caleb has shown large flashes of playing really well, playing really good football. Even Bryce Young looks like he's starting to figure it out. So why not give Michael Penix Jr. a little bit of a run here to see what he can do? Because Cousins looks like he's lost the faith of the team with how he's been playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's time. I think it's time to set it down. But at the same time, I guess the question is, are you trying to make a push for the playoffs? Do you truly believe that you can pull this out? You're only a game behind. Did they already do both their games against the Bucks, or do they have one left?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, I'll take a look real quick.
They played both. They won both. So you technically have the tiebreaker on them.
Yeah.
I mean, damn, their schedule is kind of cupcake.
Yes.
Raiders, Giants, Commanders, Panthers. Hardest game there is Commanders. Give me a second. I'll give you a damn respect, but you got one team you got I believe 2 teams that are already eliminated. Raiders and the Giants are the 2 worst teams in football, and they're eliminated. I don't know how the Panthers have somehow woke the fuck up, but they're still not good. They are a 3-win team. Three of these teams have 3 wins or less. 14 weeks into the season. So that cupcake schedule to finish this out. But at the same time, maybe you see what Penix can do, because you might need to call on him if you do make the playoffs.
Yeah. And the Commanders, I think, have the toughest road to the playoffs right now. At New Orleans versus the Eagles at home, then the Falcons at home, then on the road to Dallas, who's looking to sweep us. And I think the Commanders have the toughest road to get into the playoffs of all the teams who are left in the mix for the 7 or the 6 seed. So it's going to be crazy, man.
I would make the argument that, look, whether you make the playoffs or not, I do think your Cinderella story is probably over this year. I don't think I'm just being real with you. Being really real, baby. I'm not saying you couldn't win out. You could, but I just think that once, because of what you've shown, because a lot of it has been injury based more than anything. I just think that fine, you backpedal into the playoffs, cool, great. But I think now you're dealing with the experience of it, and again, you'd be a lower seed. You're playing one of these juggernauts. I think you lost too many clutch games in a row against teams that you either had no business losing to, or if you wanted to prove you were rough and tumble, that you would have won those. And you didn't. So I just don't think this is your year to do that. I think but you have set yourself up for success. That is what I think is happening here. This was to be able to go, damn, we're going to be a problem for folks. And I think that is something to hang your hat on. You don't give up, but I think that's something you hang your hat on.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what are we at? We are the 7th seed right now. But yeah, who would we play? No, the Lions and the Eagles would get a bye.
Number 2. You'd play number 2. So if we ended today, you'd play the Eagles, who you did beat, you lost to already, and then you have to play them again. So that's the thing. The one thing I will give you, as good as they are, if they win again, let's say that they win again, it is the one thing every single pro says. It is so hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. It would almost behoove them to lose that game to you if they do have to play you, so then they can come in and be like, you know what, I'm mad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Oh, I know. I don't. I think that loss to the Cowboys killed it. I think that killed us, and I can't see us running the table. It's those are tough games, and as Jaden is playing, Jaden's a wonderful quarterback, but we've still got issues in the secondary, and we still got issues stopping the run, and I think that's eventually going to kill us. And when we get to the playoffs, if we're playing Saquon Barkley, we have issues stopping the run. We're not beating them in Philadelphia. That's nonsense, So we will see. Anyway, let's move on to our next game here. That is what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, Russell Wilson. Wait, where is that? Did I put something up here for Russell? Maybe not. I guess not. Let's move on. Russell Wilson here threw for 2 touchdowns as the Steelers cruised past the Browns here, 27-14. It wasn't a high stat line for Russell Wilson, only threw for 158 yards. Kind of woke up in the second half and threw touchdown passes there to Freiermuth and Van Jefferson, and got the job done in the end. Jameis Winston threw 2 interceptions. Justin Hopkins missed a couple of field goals. And in the end, it was enough for the Steelers to get the victory here. But what do we think about these Steelers, Winston? Are we still doubting them at this point? Do we still need to see more? They are 10-3 right now. They're tied with the Bills for second place in the conference, just behind the Chiefs. So do we take them seriously, or do we still have questions about Russell Wilson's viability as a quarterback here heading into the playoffs? And they're about to go to a brutal 4-game stretch here, Winston, at the Eagles, at the Ravens, Chiefs at home, and then the Bengals at home. So what are your thoughts on these Steelers coming out of this game?
You got to put respect on Russell Wilson's name at this point. And anybody that's not like, I'm not coming for you. I'm just saying, if you're asking the question, you have got to put respect on his name, just in the sense that, if he doesn't win, comeback player of the year or whatever, most improved player of the year, then someone needs to get slapped, because he has been on one. He was playing well at the end of last year in Denver, but they benched him because they didn't want to pay him.
Right.
But the one thing they were saying about Justin Fields, at this point, he still has definitely a ceiling. And Russ is out here in these streets, man, giving them a deep ball threat that they didn't have out of Justin Fields.
Yep.
And then you can still use Justin Fields if the worst happens, but also for these packages. So you've all of a sudden made George Pickens a legitimate number 1 threat, like he should be.
Yeah.
And then you've brought in other people to make things kind of happen like that. So plus TJ Watt, he's going off right now. So they have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have the 7th best defense per as far as total yardage.
Yeah.
As far as let's see, yards per game via passing, they're about middle of the pack. They're allowing 218. Far as rushing goes, they're number 4 with only 91 per game, only beat out by the Chiefs, Vikings, and Ravens. And as far as points go, they are 5th at 18.3. So when you have that kind of defense, and now you actually have an offense that can kind of do something, that's all you need, bro. That's literally all you need.
Yeah. And Tomlin has experience. Russell Wilson has experience. So that defense, exactly. Both champions, right? And that defense looks hungry, and you can see it with the way they're playing with TJ Watt, or JJ Watt rather, the things they've got going on. Or is it TJ? Yeah, TJ Watt. Sorry. The things they got going on there on the defensive side of the ball is going to be interesting to see once the playoffs get tight. Are they going to be able to step up and smash some of these other teams? We will see, man. But yeah, I'm cheering for them. The Steelers have always been my second favorite team behind the Commanders. But I want to see what they can do here. I want to believe in this team. If they pull some upsets and end up in the Super Bowl, holy Christ, that would be insane to see the Steelers in there with Russell Wilson in the Super Bowl. Wow.
It would absolutely be nuts. It's also just, I'm sorry, it's still funny to me because I have the standings up.
Yeah.
The AFC has eliminated almost half of the contenders. The Browns, the Jaguars, the Jets, the Titans, the Patriots, and the Raiders are all done. Whereas the NFC, and it just goes to show how tight the NFC is, it's only the Giants.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The fact that the Panthers could still make the playoffs
is insane. Is insane. That is absolutely nuts. What does that mean? How does that even mathematically happen? Hold on. Let me go to the playoff tab, because they'll sometimes explain all the things that need to happen. I just don't know if they've started yet because we're so far back.
Some of them. They've got stuff for some of them.
They don't even list anything for the Panthers right now because mathematically they can do it. They clearly have to win out and then get help.
Massive.
But
Yeah.
you know what? I think they're clear. No, because I was going to say maybe they just have to win the division, but there's not enough games to do that right now.
No. Everybody needs to lose out, and they need to win out. That's basically how they get into the playoffs. Like Tampa would have to lose 4 straight. Atlanta would have to lose 3 out of the last 4. New Orleans would have to lose 3 or 4. It's pretty much it. Yeah, and they would get in the playoffs if they made the run. How fucking insane would that be? Bryce Young leading them into the playoffs.
I'm so. Wait a minute. Brooks tore his ACL again?
Oh, yeah. You didn't see that? I think it's the other knee.
Bro.
Yeah. Jonathan Brooks.
That is so sad.
I know.
Oh, man.
He was 24. He retore the ACL in his right knee. So I guess it is the right knee that he injured in college 13 months ago. So, God damn, dude.
That's rough, dude. That's rough.
Yeah. So they'll have to do it without him. I guess Chubba Hubbard. Get me Chubba Hubbard on the hotline. You're back in the starting lineup, my guy.
He's already 1,000-yard rusher this season with 8 touchdowns. Like he's for a team that's doing so bad, he is doing so good.
Chubba Hubbard. And it was the best name ever in football. Well, we kind of already talked about the Eagles and the Panthers. So I don't think we need to get into this game, brother. We see where we're at with the Eagles. We see where we're at with the Panthers. So we'll see what happens going forward with Philadelphia. Can they keep the wins going? So let's move on to the next game here. Let's talk about Zach Charbonnet, who ran for a career high 134 yards here and 2 touchdowns. Geno Smith, Winston's favorite off the bench quarterback, threw for 233 yards and a score.
So rude. You didn't say that about Sam Darnold. Racism.
And had 2 crucial interceptions in the first quarter here. They got the victory. They stomped these Cardinals 30-18. Bro, it wasn't but 4 weeks ago that people were talking about Kyler Murray finally turning it around, but he has looked so bad over these last few games, and Seattle looks like they have found their mojo after they had kind of stumbled for the last few weeks. It looks like they're putting things together at the right time. Smith completed 24 of 30 passes, wasn't even sacked once here. And it's the first time in Murray's 6-year career that he's had at least 2 interceptions in consecutive games. So what do you take away from this? Are the Seahawks starting to feel like a real team that people got to reckon with? Do you see them winning the division? What are your thoughts on this? And what about Kyler Murray and these Cardinals? What's next?
This feels like, honestly,
yeah.
You remember it's like the mall walking event that they do now.
Oh yeah.
You remember that one woman? I think she was from Spain. She was already doing her congratulatory walk and wasn't paying attention to someone like speeding up right behind her.
Yeah,
and she's like, oh, and you can't run, so she's like, wait. Like, it is one of those things with the Seahawks right now. They feel like that Spanish woman.
Oh,
if they're not careful, even though I feel like they have the advantage here. The Rams could just because it's one game. That's kind of what we were talking about right now. But both of those teams are Jekyll and Hyde. And even though I don't believe in the Niners because of how up and down and how injured they've been, technically speaking, they're also only 2 games behind.
Yeah.
And anybody could have a little momentary collapse here with 4 games left. You never know what's about to go down. So the only team I genuinely am like they're falling back down to earth is the Cardinals. They have never been consistent enough for me to ever believe in them. Yeah. They just haven't been.
Well, I mean, it's kind of crazy that Murray's been the quarterback for 6 seasons. It feels like he's still there like 3 years ago. 6 seasons he's been through 2 contracts. And he is still not put together a full, complete season of winning play. And so I don't know, at some point, he's basically a glorified backup masquerading as a starter here because he can't get the job done with this team. Now, you can argue Jonathan Gannon, some of the coaching decisions, some of the coaching moves he made, those in-game decisions have cost them maybe a couple of victories, but you don't have to make those in-game divisions if you've got a quarterback that's leading you consistently on drives that lead to touchdowns or lead to points. And Kyler Murray just is so, we say Jekyll and Hyde over and over again in the show. That's the theme of the show because he is absolutely a Jekyll and Hyde quarterback. To me, he is the Russell Westbrook of NFL quarterbacks. he brings a lot to the table, but fuck, does he make some crucial mistakes at critical moments that cost you in the long run, and can't get over that hump. So he's exciting to watch, but then he gets all stupid and makes mistakes, and you end up getting an L instead of a W. And so I think that's the situation here when you look at Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. It is a situation where I have not seen the evolution out of him.
Yeah,
to take it to the next level. So you're pretty much, in my opinion, getting a faster, uses his legs more, version of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
when Kirk Cousins was at his peak. So putting you in serious contention to make the playoffs, but it's never going to go beyond that. I just don't believe it, because I haven't seen anything that inspires me to do so. If Harrison had maybe come in and been even more of what everything was promised, which could happen next year,
sure.
It feels like he had a few issues, and it also feels like Kyler was holding him back. Yeah. But if they can take that step next year, then who knows? But until then, no.
Yeah. And they got a brutal stretch, these Seahawks. So we'll see what's left of them by the end of these next 4 weeks. They are taking on the Packers at home. That's going to be a critical game for Green Bay, who is still fighting to get into the playoffs, by the way. Then they've got the Vikings at home as well. So two big games here at home. Then they go on the road to take on the Bears, and then they're at SoFi Stadium to play the Rams. That might be one I drive up to see. I might have to shake the tree on the Barbarian and see if he's got an extra ticket, because if it's for the division, that could be a fun game to watch in person between the Hawks and the Rams. That
would be a lot of fun, man, for sure. Look, I can't believe I'm out here. They don't need defense, but I can't believe I'm out here defending the Chiefs, because, like, look, I said this a couple of times.
Yeah.
As far as, hey, you blocked field goal, that's ridiculous. Like, how did you? But someone pointed out, it's like, again, the idea of luck.
Yeah.
If luck happens to you every now and again, it's luck. If luck keeps happening to you, then you're clearly doing something right, and that is your preparedness. So, like, that blocked field goal, that is what they practice over and over and over again. The kicker, even if it was doinked, it still counts, whether you got the like you've seen in movies where the ball be rimming around like 5, 6, 7, 11 times, or the home run that barely tips over the wall. It's still a home run. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it still counts. That's still within the legal realm of what was needed for that outcome. And that's the thing. They are trained by any means necessary, even if it's by inches. That is what the Chiefs do. So it doesn't mean that they aren't vulnerable. Of course they are. This has been a statistically worse season for Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh God, yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, because the rest of the team is showing up when they need to.
Yeah. Woo. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to see these next few weeks. I like it that so many teams are in play. Like you said, not so much in the AFC, but certainly in the NFC. So we're going to have different narratives every week for almost every one of these teams. They're going to look like they're not going to make it. They're going to look like they are going to make it. And it's not going to be sorted out probably until the final week of the season fully, to see who's getting in the playoffs and who's winning these divisions, because they're so damn tight, which I think is going to be real interesting to see for sure. All right, let's move on to these other games here, Winston. I'm going to run them down real quick, see what you want to talk about from these games. I think there's a few stories here. Dan Campbell went down on 4th down quite a few times on this past Thursday night, and the Lions got the best of the Packers here, 34-31, to clinch a spot in the playoffs. They look like they're odds-on favorites to win the division. The 49ers, behind Jawan Jennings and Brock Purdy, got the job done against the Bears, 38-13, spoiling Thomas Brown's coaching debut. They're taking over from Eberflus. Baker Mayfield threw for 3 touchdowns as the Bucs took over first place in the NFC South with a win over the hapless Raiders, who lost O'Connell to a knee bruise, but he might be back this week. Tua threw a touchdown pass in overtime to Jonnu Smith, who had no catches in the game, but had 3 catches in overtime, including the touchdown, to give the Dolphins a 32-26 win over Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, officially eliminating the Jets from the playoffs again. for another God knows how many years. The Jaguars scored the final 10 points and ended the Titans slim playoff hopes with a 10-6 win. And there was a potentially tying field goal that was blocked by the Saints as they held on to beat the Giants 14-11 after Carr was injured in the game. So what do you want to talk about from these games, man? What story sticks out? What are you feeling? What's your thoughts on these games?
My biggest thought is I think Zach Wilson is owed an apology.
Ooh.
I genuinely think he is owed an apology because
wow.
What was the big promise? Ooh, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to fix. He ain't do a goddamn thing. And they ran this man out the league, bro. Ran him out the league because I don't think he's on a team right now.
Yeah, no. I think he's a backup somewhere. But
in Denver.
Denver.
He's in Denver.
Right.
But let me see if I can pull up his stats from last year because look, it's just from the idea specifically that last year off of 12 games, he had 2,271 yards, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. It was bad. It was big bad. Let's not, sugarcoat it. But I want to bring up, let me see. I need to find Aaron Rodgers, the New York Jets. Sorry, y'all. I got to remember where the shit is. And then there's Aaron. So Aaron this year, so far through this season has been, let's see, 2,966, 20 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. However, his record for the Jets right now is 3-10. So what I thought he was supposed to be the savior. I thought he was supposed to turn all this around. Yeah. And yet here he is doing not a damn thing for the team. He didn't show up to the mandatory training camp, which clearly has had an effect one way or the other. Yeah. And then everything else, you brought in Devontae. The fact that Devontae was like, man, F these Raiders. I'm trying to go play with my boy Aaron, and then did not a goddamn thing himself, which sucks because I like Devontae. Yeah. It just doesn't. I think that an apology is owed, and it really was that this is a dumpster fire of a team. Sorry, Haskell, but they are. They are clearly cursed. And that's what's going on here. And really, unless you really do something to sage the bad juju, the Jets are going to be like this forever. And also, I know we skipped over the Eagles. I saw Boogie got a little upset. Let's be real that Barkley did break the single rushing record for the Eagles, passing Shady McCoy, and he deserves all the praise for that. That's why they started chanting MVP with his 124-yard game. He ends up taking that away from Shady McCoy, which is crazy.
Yeah. And he was there. He congratulated him, gave him love. So congratulations to Saquon. Congratulations to the Eagles. But the Eagles passing game is AJ Brown had some comments. The Eagles receivers had some comments. And so I wonder what Sirianni and Kellen Moore are going to come up with to solve this issue. Because remember last year, the Eagles limped into that playoffs as well with a lot of questions around that team. And now a lot of sports reporters today, I was listening on ESPN and on Fox and other places, there is apparently an issue going on between Jalen and AJ. And if that's a problem, that is going to corrupt your team from within.
Really?
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing would be better. Look, man, I again.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the Eagles thrive. I don't. In the same way that I'm sure you don't. Just based off of being a division
East team should thrive, other than the Commanders. Yes.
Other than the team that we support. Go after yourself.
Exactly.
But I like Saquon, and what he's been doing has been magic. So what I don't want to see happen is now all of a sudden the team starts to self-destruct like this and they fall apart. But I have said this before. I don't think Jalen I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's bad at all.
No.
I don't think he's great. I think he's fine. Yeah. And I think that the pieces that are around him are what make him look greater than he is. versus the other way around, the ones that I would call great, the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the Joe Burrows, they are making the team better. You have studs that play with them, but they are making the team better. Hell, Russell Wilson could honestly be in that category now based off of what he's been able to do with the Steelers and really only adding him and Fields. And he even took what Fields was doing to the next level. I don't think Jalen is that. I think he is very good, but it stops that he is not great, in my opinion. And this is the type of stuff that kind of shows it, is that this was on Saquon to win this game. You should never have been this close against Carolina, period.
Carolina took a lead in the fourth quarter, and you had to bounce back and get the victory and put it away. So you got the job done. But yeah, no, this is just rough to watch. And I mean, if your number one receiver is turning on your quarterback and your number two receiver is maybe passive aggressively hinting at issues with the quarterback, this is a bad situation all around for you. This is a bad situation. So we'll see. And you're right. It would suck for Saquon because he had to deal with those terrible Giants teams. Yeah. What's up? And now he's got this the Eagles situation. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say Al Boogie was like, well, he's not your traditional quarterback and he's literally beat every elite quarterback. I was like, all right, cool. But guess what? He hasn't won when it matters.
He don't wins in the Super Bowl.
He lost the Super Bowl. Every time they're in playoff games, he had no business losing. He was losing. So no, until he can, again, because you could make the same argument about Josh Allen. Josh Allen is insane
in the regular season.
Doesn't win when it matters.
Yeah.
And that's Lamar. And the sad thing is that's always not Lamar too. Yes. Lamar's another great example. And it's not always on. I would say Josh of all of them is the least devoid of that criticism. Yeah. Only other person I can think of would be Joe Burrow. And that's just because the 13-second thing, he wasn't playing defense. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He did everything he was supposed to do, and it didn't matter. And then the same thing against this Rams game. But that is something to be said. Yeah. I would infinitely trust the two of them more than I would Jalen Hurts for a reason. Because if the game is on the line, I can go, he's got to figure it out. He is going to figure out it will not be his fault that they lose this game. It will be somebody else. Yeah. I can't always say that about Jalen. People fluctuate back and forth between Dak and Jalen. You got to give Jalen more credit because he's made it to a Super Bowl. But they have a similar kind of thing where it's like sometimes he gives up crazy numbers. Sometimes he can barely eke out wins.
Yeah.
But I am not blindly trusting him. Patrick Mahomes has had terrible numbers this season, and I will blindly trust him, as was proven with a 12-1 effing record.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, for me, I look at these games and I go, okay, what do I take out of it? Aaron Rodgers is finished. No one should hire him next year, for God's sakes. He's a goddamn cooler. He is a bad luck charm, an albatross around your neck. That's the last thing you want. The Jets will never win shit until Woody Johnson sells the team. He is the new Dan Snyder. Jerry Jones is never selling the Cowboys, and that's that. But Woody is the new Dan Snyder. Take that gold grill out of your face, old man, and sell the goddamn team to someone who gives a shit about the Jets, for God's sake. Get him out of here. It's ridiculous. I'm so happy for Baker, who got out of that terrible situation with the Browns, and he's got these Bucks flying. Hopefully he takes care of business, gets in these playoffs. It would be nice for him to get that situation squared away. Do we think the Dolphins make a late season run here, Winston, and threaten to get into these playoffs? Would you believe that would you put money on it? Do you think it's possible?
Do the Dolphins make the playoffs?
Yes. They are 6-7 right now, I think. Hold on, I'm gonna look right now.
Yeah, let me look at their schedule. I mean, they need a lot of help.
Yeah, they're 6-7 right now, and they have the Texans, the 49ers, the Browns, and the Jets to finish out the season.
That's two hard, medium to high diff games and two what should be cakewalks.
Yeah.
But you're 4 games behind Buffalo. So to win the division, at the very least, Buffalo has to lose out. Yeah. You have to win out.
That ain't happening.
I don't think that's happening. And even then, they have the tiebreaker. They swept you. Yeah. So you're not winning the division.
Right.
So that means you got to go wild card. Yeah. And let me take a look at that right now. And the wild card teams consist of the Ravens, the Chargers, and the Broncos. Nah, dude, I don't think the Dolphins are making the playoffs.
Right.
If those are the teams that are left, and who do the Broncos have to play to close out here? The Colts, the Chargers, the Bengals. That's a horrible schedule. Oh my God, that is a nightmare schedule for the Broncos. All right.
They got to go 3-1 to get these points.
Broncos could falter. Let's
Yeah.
take a look at the Chargers, what their remaining schedule. Buccaneers, Broncos, Patriots, Raiders. I mean, I don't think the Chargers are missing the playoffs, not with that schedule.
Yeah.
And then obviously you could look at other teams here, but let's look at the Ravens. I know that they have been on a little bit of a slump here and there, but they got the Giants, the Steelers, the Texans, and the Browns. That's, again, two mid to high diff games and two cupcake walks. So no, I don't think the Dolphins will make the playoffs. I think they have a shot, but I don't think they will.
I think whoever wins that Broncos Chargers game gets in the playoffs, and whoever loses is not getting in the playoffs in that game in 2 weeks. I think that decides a possible 7 seed in the end. I think that's the one. So
yeah. And the other thing, I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, I was blaming the Super Bowl loss on Jalen." I know Jalen played exceptionally well. I get it, but in the same way that we said with Josh Allen, and like again, I'm not gonna fully put that loss on Jalen or anything like that, and I don't fully put the 13 seconds on Josh. I put it very little on Josh, but that is still when it matters. Like if like that's the, I know I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth, but like there were plenty of other points in the game for either of them to lock it up. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there was a 4-and-out that happened somewhere. I'm sure there was an interception that happened somewhere. I would need to go look at those games to see, but they didn't play a game where they were 40 for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't. They just weren't. So
craziness. All right, well, let's move out of football. I think it's still 7-7 with your Bengals and Cowboys. Apparently, Chief Wiggum is getting involved in the game now. That's going to be a touchdown there, boys. Touchdown. So, but let's move on to this last story here. I want to get your thoughts on this. I don't know how. I know you're a recent baseball man with all the teams that you're following now. All of a sudden, so I want to ask you this situation here with. So I gotta ask, we gotta talk about Juan Soto, man. This is insane. The Mets have apparently landed Juan Soto on a 15-year, $765 million contract with escalators that could take the contract to $805 million if he hits all the goalposts that they've set up for him to go through in this contract. Winston, this is insane. The annual salary, let's see, if Soto opts out, the Mets can void it because it includes an opt-out after 5 years and no deferred money. If Soto opts out, the Mets can void it by increasing his annual salary in the final 10 seasons by $4 million from $51 to $55 million. The contract also includes a $75 million signing bonus. This kid is only 26 years old. So, why didn't neither one of us get into baseball? And 2, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I tweeted out that I thought we are probably 2, 3, 4, 5 years away from a $1 billion contract for a player in Major League Baseball. What are your thoughts on this,
man? That shit is stupid. That is dumb. That is so dumb. You want to talk about inflation? What the fuck? Now all of a sudden Mets tickets gonna be $1 bajillion.
The economy was bad. They told me the economy was bad under Joe Biden, but you can pay someone $765 million. Jesus.
Also, let's be real. That amount of money and as far as tariffs go, he's about to get deported. It's not like he's ever gonna see the money. He ain't even gonna see the goddamn money in the first place. Y'all heard Trump say it. He said he'd taken away the goddamn citizenships and shit. He doesn't give a fuck about the 14th Amendment. He ain't never gonna see that money. He gonna be. Where is he originally from? I don't know where this gentleman was born and raised. Maybe he was born here, and I bet you still be some shit that try and send his off. He's from the Dominican Republic. They don't even think that the DR is part of America, bro. He gone. He gone. It's so sad.
But I play for the Mets. You're out. oh God, it's so true. It's so true.
Look, good for him. That's awesome. Like, I'm never going to be upset about somebody securing their bag unless they're doing it in like a sketchy way. So you know, you're talking about, we're not going to get into a conversation about the United Healthcare CEO, but you're dumping 15 mil in stock to like bump your own stuff. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, but this dude did it playing sports. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he
Yeah.
murdered his twin brother or something, and then like Highlander absorbed his powers, and now he's this good. Like he worked super hard.
Yes.
That's off the back of his own blood, sweat, and tears.
Yep.
So if that's what the going rate is for what he does for a living, good for you, bro. That's wild.
But this is a contract that's better than Shohei Ohtani's contract, because his contract, 97% of Ohtani's salary will be deferred for 10 years. So, but not Soto. Soto's immediately getting all this money, and immediately, not only 765, but he's getting that $75 million bonus. He's getting a hefty salary every year to play this game for the Mets. You know, this is interesting because he was with the Yankees last year. We went to the World Series with Soto, couldn't get the job done against the Dodgers. So maybe Soto looked at the situation, didn't want to share the spotlight with Aaron Judge, but wanted to be in New York. So he just goes cross town to the Mets, and their new owner sets him up really well with all this money. Now you got to go out and do it. And look, Soto has issues on defense. Soto is not the best or the smartest base runner rather, but the man can hit. And so he will be in contention for years to come until he becomes a DH in like probably 7 or 8 years. And then we'll see what that contract looks like in 7 or 8 years. If you're paying $55 million for a DH, that's a bad situation. So it's going to be interesting, you know?
I mean, look, he is a champion.
Yes,
like,
he won with the Nationals. Yes.
Like he won with the Nationals.
Yep.
You know, he's 4-time All-Star, 3-time All-MLB, 1-time All-MLB, second team. NL batting champion in 2020. Like, I mean, that's the kind of player that deserves that kind of money.
Yeah.
And the Mets were close. The Mets were also a hitting issue away.
True. That's
from
true.
it being a Subway Series and not you know West Coast the best coast. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like I love how you wore your Yankees hat to get this tongue lashing about losing Soto. That's hilarious.
I don't mind, dude. No way that I want us to pay $765 million for Soto. No effing way. That's insane, man. That's insane. I like Sean Brennan's comment here. $750 million for a player in the third most popular sport, only in America. That's true. That's for
sure. Only in America, man. Well, that's because most of these other players, they're not doing it on the court. They're doing it with the endorsements. And it's not to say that baseball players don't get endorsements. Of course they do. But we hear more about LeBron shoes or Giannis's or whatever stuff like that. We see most of the athletes we see in commercials. It's either the LeBron or Steph, or it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and every damn State Farm commercial or whatever else. Like the last sports commercial that rings in my head is Thumberisky or Derek Henry, home auto. That's my living room, dog. Those are I can't think of a baseball commercial right now. I can't, honestly.
Oh, that's a great point. I can't think of a baseball commercial either. Oof, yeah.
It's not a thing because, like you said, it's the third most popular sport. But just so what I also don't understand is where that money is coming from.
Yeah,
I don't understand where that money is coming
from. The fans when they jack up the fucking tickets. That's where it's all going to come from, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Uh-oh, Lisa Simpson touchdown.
Uh-oh. Bundalewski.
Never mind. She got forced out of bounds. No, they're calling it a touchdown. I don't know. They're reviewing it. The Krusty the Crown is eating burgers while they look at it. This is stupid. Okay, Ohtani does New Balance, but you know what else is in that New Balance commercial? Everybody. I recognize Donovan Mitchell faster than I did the damn Ohtani. And that's saying something with Ohtani being the only baseball player in it and being Japanese, so he would have stuck out even quicker than me going, what brother plays basketball that is? I got to remember for a second. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I don't disagree. WNBA people are more noticeable than the MLB
because they finally got their time to shine, which I absolutely love, and they've been doing really funny commercials that focuses just on them.
Yeah,
because again, that Ohtani commercial is kind of with everybody else, if I remember.
Right. So, it's one of those. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. I'm just glad Ohtani took time away from betting on baseball. Anyway, all right, let's move on.
How dare you? He did not. He did not. That was his damn translator. That motherfucker gone.
Sure he was. Please, what a nonsense. All right, let's move on. We've got 4 Streamlabs, Winston. Let's answer these before we wrap up the show here. Freudtastic314 says, hello, Game Time. Happy you're back. Getting this in early, just in case. What is the best football moment in movie history? For me, it's between Robert Loja's halftime speech and Necessary Roughness. And John Matuzak's meltdown at the end of North Dallas 40. Ooh, Fred, you were up there in the years to remember that movie. So, Winston, what is the best football moment in movie history?
For me, it's a tie between The Longest Yard.
Which moment? When he threw the ball into his nuts, or what?
I mean, that's very funny. That's very, very funny. But just beating the guards in general and how that last kind of drive and push that was happening, or it's the replacements, because in both of those cases, those are full-on underdogs that life has kind of taken a giant dookie on, and they're pulling it off when they had no business doing so, and there's a lot of sacrifice, because you remember Nelly's character Megget, they blew his knee out. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so him rushing to do that. Kind of the same thing. Also blew his knee out, the deacon in the replacements.
Oh, yeah.
It's my old college injury. Oh, scars, baby. And so both of those, because at least in The Longest Yard, you have Burt Reynolds come in real quick and they're screaming at each other, but then the play goes, which was pretty cool. Right. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of really fun moments in that I think, but for me. But what about you, man?
Mean Machine.
Exactly. Mean Machine.
His story. For me, it has to be the Pacino speech in Any Given Sunday. I have that on my workout mix. That's how important that speech is to me. And what he says, we claw with our fingernails for that inch. It's one of the greatest monologues ever in the history. And I love that halftime speech. Don't get me wrong. The Robert Loggia speech in Necessary Roughness is great, but that speech from Pacino is the best part of that movie, because that movie sucks. And then I would have to say probably anything in Remember the Titans, because I love that movie. And so does Sam Levine. But the Remember the Titans moment, when he throws the banana at the opposite coach as a kind of fuck you for that. When Boone and Will Arnett, when they have have an out between each other to figure out how to work together as a white man and a black man coaching this team. And then I think when they all show up to respect the linebacker, and after he got hurt and everything like that. So the real emotions of that movie are fantastic, and it's set in Virginia, true story, and that's where I grew up. So I respect it. Yeah.
You know what? I was wrong. There were 3 big ones that I missed that I think maybe have gotten to the
3.
top
Okay,
here.
go ahead.
There were 3 big ones. The first, honestly, and this is being real, is I really like Draft Day. And I think when the plan comes together, and it comes together in a way that everybody kind of got what they wanted. You made this dude's dream come true on the one hand. You put sort of stuff together. Everybody thought this man was smoking crack, and all of a sudden you look like, I mean, it was the Browns, so it probably turned out terribly. But it felt like, okay, this is moving in the right direction. The next one would have to be Concussion, when they finally sort of told the truth.
That's a great movie. I like that movie so much.
When they finally sort of told the truth. And then, honestly, it's a tie between when that white lady did that right thing and allowed that one guy to make it all the way to the NFL, because he would have never done it if he hadn't had his white savior, or
Blindside.
Blindside, or it's got to be Radio, which is also a really heartwarming movie, and that whole situation too. So I don't know.
It's a good question. Man. I like that question. I don't know I think those are my answers. I don't know if I can. I mean, you took the Longest Yard one. That's a great choice. I love that one. Tell the truth. Of course, Concussion is fantastic. I mean, maybe Jerry Maguire. Maybe when what's-his-face wakes up, when he wakes up after he's been hit and he's celebrating. That's an awesome moment there where he's finally going to get his money and get paid. So, yeah, good question, man. Thanks so much, Fred. Elusive Rock says, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, that would be 4 of the last 5 and a three-peat. Does that make Mahomes the GOAT?
Yes.
Really? You think so?
Yeah. because he did the one thing that Brady couldn't do. He
Right.
did it significantly faster,
Mm.
and he did it in a way like
Mm.
because the problem is it's not like I just won these games,
Yeah.
but I wasn't like the cornerstone. Like nobody is out here in these streets talking about anybody else like that on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You could make the argument with Aikman, for example, who was maybe the next closest to get a three-peat, that it's like, nah, man, they were talking about Michael Irvin. They were talking about
Yeah.
Emmitt Smith. They were talking about Deion Sanders. So
Yeah.
it's like you were a key element to that. Let's not knock it, but
Yeah.
it is Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. And it doesn't mean that they don't have incredible players around them.
Right.
They got incredible tight ends. They got a great coach. They have a defense that doesn't F around. But that is who we are talking about, and he is doing it in a crazy fashion. And when it's all said and done, when we talk about those Patriot Super Bowls, we talk about Brady. When we talk about that, we're going to talk about Patty. And so, yes, if he does this, I'm sorry. 3 years in a row, ask any football player, any NFL player, how hard it is to win one, let alone 2 in a row. You won 3, dog?
Yeah.
For 3 years, nobody was touching your ass?
Yeah. I can't call anybody the GOAT until their season is until their career is done, right? So I have to wait on the GOAT conversation. I'm still having a hard time accepting Tom Brady as the GOAT. So, it's like, so I don't know. I have to wait until his career is over before I consider him in the GOAT conversation. And I mean, it shouldn't be in consideration. I mean, like, consider him the GOAT. I think we'd have to wait. For me, I have to wait a little bit longer.
So just to show how hard it is, period, not just in football.
Yeah.
There's only been four three-peats in baseball. You had the 4-peat for the Yankees in the 30s, the 5-peat in the 40s and 50s, the 3-peat of the A's in the 70s, and the Yankees again 98 to 2000, right?
Yep.
In basketball, as far as the NBA Finals, you only had the Lakers from 52 to 54, the 2000 to 2002, the Bulls both times, and then the Boston Celtics when they were on an 8-peat run, which is insane.
I don't even count.
But,
yeah.
But right. But I'll give you arguably, because we weren't at peak basketball yet, the Bulls, and the Lakers. So we'll call it 3 times.
Totally.
Packers have done it, but not technically in the Super Bowl era. It was one previous to the Super Bowl, and then Super Bowls 1 and 2.
Yep.
You could sort of call that, but I don't think you would. But the rest of this, it's just not a thing that happens.
Yeah.
It really does not happen really in any other sport. So I'm sorry. If he does that, what are you going to do? Because the other thing I would make the argument, what team in Brady's era, what could you make an argument that there was a division rival that was really potentially trying to hold him back? Not a conference, a division rival specific.
Oh, division, no. Because, I mean, the Jets were always up and down. The Dolphins were always up and down. So, no, I don't think there was a division rival. Damn it, who else is in that division? Why can't I think of who else is in that division? The Colts, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and someone else. But they were always up and down. They weren't enough to beat them.
And the Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos are also up and down.
Yeah.
But in recent memory, they have been very good, let alone the Chargers look like a threat now. The Broncos look like a threat now. And if the Raiders kind of finally figure out what they did to be the way that they are, like at least Patty is having to play within the division against something like kind of nuts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It felt like Brady just got automatic. Oh, the season started. The Patriots are the division champions.
Yeah. They won 11 in a row, for God's sakes. Sean Brennan says, hello, fellas. Mind-blowing stat for all the Chiefs can't keep doing this, people. Since Mahomes took over, the Chiefs are 20-14 in games where they trailed going into the fourth quarter. The rest of the league combined is 279, 1,431. So 279 wins, 1,431 losses, 7 draws. This is who they are. No, you're right. This is who they are for now. And so we'll see what happens to them going forward in the next few, but in the playoffs. That's really where it counts. Who gives a shit about regular season now? They've won the title. They're getting in the playoffs. It's more a matter of like, what are they going to do in these playoffs when these games get tight like this? are they really going to be able to keep the magic going? So there's a lot of questions where
There
it goes
is.
with that. So
There is, and I'll say this. Someone tried to say in Taylor Swift's shadow. I don't think that that's true. However, I don't know an NFL player that has had more off the field drama surrounding him every single year.
Yeah.
Every year. So like last year, because it wasn't really this year. This year, Taylor really hasn't been in the equation for being real. Like she's around, but nobody's
it's
talking the
wife
way she was.
with the
Right.
magazine.
His wife, his mom, like
Yes,
all
mom,
of that that's
right,
been
all
going
right.
on and whatnot. Harrison Butker nonsense before the season started. So you had all of that last year. It was what Taylor. It was the drop passes. It was the season falling apart. The year before that, it was his wife and his brother constantly back and forth. Let alone what this year you had Rashee Rice with the accident and you know then blowing his knee out and then like it's always something. And yet he still is thriving to greatness. I am not saying Brady didn't have stuff going on.
He did.
But because he did. But the stuff was like the tuck rule.
But it was self-imposed, right? It was tuck rule. It was deflating the footballs. It was,
it was Spygate.
Spygate. Yeah, it was stuff.
He had the worst of all of them with the Hernandez stuff. I'll give you that. That was by far the worst of all the drama. But that's all I'm saying. That's also very interesting that he is doing this while in the midst of chaos.
Yeah, some people thrive off that shit. They really do. And so, maybe Mahomes and Brady are cut from the same cloth in that way. Mike Joy says, did Deebo Samuel piss someone off, or are the 49ers just a disaster? He hasn't done much this year. He's been reliable in years past, and I'm probably going to miss my fantasy playoffs thanks to him. Travis Etienne and A.J. Brown being bust this year. Yeah, I mean, A.J., that's been rough for me the last 2 weeks. A.J. has been dog shit the last 2 weeks, and I don't know why Jalen isn't throwing him the ball. I think, but Debo's been injured. Debo's been in and out of the lineup, so I don't think you can blame Debo on what's going on.
You can, in the sense that there's a reason why I never draft Christian McCaffrey. I decided to go in on Debo this year, and I sort of regret it. Like the times he was good were awesome, and he has that explosive play ability, but he's been injured the last few seasons. He misses somewhere between 2 to 6 games a season. So
it looks like he's only missed 1 game this season, which was against the Chiefs, ironically.
But some of these games that he played anyway, like he played one of them with pneumonia and then left the game after the first or second quarter. So just because you played a quarter and had 2 targets and 1 catch, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I consider that a missed game. Like you were dying. I kind of consider that a missed game. Like all it to is concussions. Those games as well, technically, because even if it happened in like start of the third quarter, you're done for the rest of the game, and the team couldn't rely on you. So
100%. Code says, mark my words, my Chargers, my Bolts will beat the Chiefs in the playoffs because they're going to get better all season until they get to the playoffs. I don't think the Chargers are ready to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. I don't think Justin Herbert hasn't even tasted the playoffs. So
if you do, I will tell you this much: there will probably be another victory parade in Los Angeles. Because they're not going to do much beyond that. But there would be a victory parade in Los Angeles if you pull that off.
I know the Chargers should get a victory parade if they knock out the Chiefs in the playoffs for sure. Doug Develler says, speaking of Tom Brady, the tuck rule is the biggest what if in NFL history, in my opinion. He loses his first playoff game. He never gains that confidence from beating the greatest show on turf and the NFL MVP and Kurt Warner. And then what happens to his career? I don't. But those are an incredible amount of leaps that you're making, Doug. And I appreciate you sending in the stream of that. But Tom Brady is a driven guy. So I think he'd have used that tuck rule as even more motivation to be even more cutthroat, more ruthless, and even better when he came back the next season to go on a monster run to win the Super Bowl. I think there's a chance that the tuck rule doesn't happen. Brady does have an undefeated season. Brady is so driven to have an undefeated season. And so I think that's what might have actually happened if the tuck rule had gone against him and for the Raiders overall. But but Kurt Warner is the change. Kurt Warner could have won a second Super Bowl, and that would have really solidified Kurt as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever.
Yeah, it's really that is a lot of what ifs, and I don't know what to say on that. So it's possible. it's genuinely possible. That's why the What If series that has been on Disney Plus has been so interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Genuinely is that. But that is a lot of what ifs. But like we've said, those stories, like when you think about the one with T'Challa was the one that was abducted instead of Star-Lord.
Right.
Things looked very different, but you don't know.
Don't forget, and I hate to break your heart on this, Doug, because I know Doug's a Jets fan, but the Jets didn't draft Russell Wilson. They could have drafted Russell Wilson. So that's another big what if. What happens to the Jets if they get Russell Wilson? Does Russell turn that team around? Does Russell lead them on this like mini run of 10 years of being an incredible quarterback? Don't forget the Bears passed over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson to take Trubisky. That's the biggest what if. And that's like Jordan passing over Jordan to get Sam Bowie to me. So yeah.
Same thing with there was one that just came out recently about Josh Allen. I'm trying to remember what team passed on him. That was also like, man, but I still stand by this.
Yeah.
People got to be in the right situation. Just because all of the intangibles are maybe there and like we're seeing them at what we assume is their peak, and it probably is. Right. That does not mean if you go to the Browns, if Josh Allen was drafted by the Browns, they're a dumpster fire organization. They could have ruined him because we've said this about Darnold and Smith. They clearly have talent. Once they got out of a bad situation, they've started to play well. So you really never know.
I mean, the other one is the 49ers. They passed over taking Aaron Rodgers in 2005. Imagine Jim Harbaugh coaching the 49ers with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. Those guys are winning Super Bowls. 100% they're winning Super Bowls. And so that could have been an interesting situation there. What if Belichick had stayed with the Jets when he signed for them in 2000 before he promptly resigned and went over to the Patriots? Are the Jets the Patriots right now? Are the Jets considered the Patriots? Like that would have been fucking insane.
Wait, what year did Josh Allen get drafted? Do you know?
It's maybe the last 7 years. I don't know. Josh Allen drafted.
Okay.
2018. So it's recent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Giant. Well, okay. You blame Cleveland for taking Baker over Josh Allen. Right. That was stupid. But again, you probably would have ruined him. You don't blame the New York Giants for passing up Josh Allen for Saquon, because what Saquon did at the time, you still thought you had some like, was that the year that they took what's his name, Daniels, or was that still Eli?
The big what if is that the Browns took Baker Mayfield over Josh Allen that year in 2018.
Right. That's the one. But you still, like, it was the end for Eli, but you didn't necessarily want to go quite yet. Maybe you thought there was a better, class coming up.
Yeah. Again,
the Jets taking Sam Darnold over Allen is wild, but again, he was in Wyoming, so I can understand. You're like, Darnold was at USC, so you're like Pac-12. Like I can see that. But I don't know. This draft makes a little bit of sense to me, the way that it played out, but who knows?
Remember
when they thought Josh Rosen was going to be good?
Josh Rosen? No, I never trusted that kid. All right, let's get out of here. Thank you, Winston, so much. Another fun episode of Game Time. Thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks for the Streamlabs, y'all. Thanks for the fun chat. Winston, please let people know what you got going on and where they can find more of your content, my friend.
That's what's up. You can find me at the Swaggy Blurred on all platforms, here on YouTube. Tomorrow is my birthday. So thank you, brother. Thank you. So I'm going to spend the evening kind of getting my life together. So cleaning up a little bit, go work out. And then I'm going to record a shortened Blurred breakdown. People have been asking how things have been this past week. I'll, as much information as I feel comfortable sharing, I will. But obviously, we heard the news that not only was the suspected shooter arrested from the UNC, the United Healthcare CEO, but Jay-Z has now been named in a lawsuit with Diddy. So I got to cover that in Diddy or Didn't He? But that will be it. There's not going to be a lot of nerd news. I won't be covering a lot of the movies and stuff like that because I'm tired and I don't want to. But I will later this week. But for tomorrow, it will just be covering the arrested suspect and the Jay-Z lawsuit. So come and check that out. I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, I will see you over on Capes and Cows on Friday with Christian Harloff and Corey.
Right on. And we might be able to lock down to spill the tequila sometime this week. We'll see if we can or we can't. We'll see. We'll figure it out if we can. It all depends on how Winston feels the day after his birthday, if we can lock that down or not. And the other side of this, and I think this is really incredible. You guys got to subscribe to his channel. Winston's doing some incredible content. He's upped his graphics game, which is great to watch. So go and subscribe there and enjoy the content that he's making for sure. And go and read that Rock Nation statement from Jay-Z.
I did. I have so many thoughts. Like when I tell you, I'm like, okay, but what? Like, I didn't mean to sound like Lil Jon, but it just kind of fell out my mouth. I
was reading that statement like that meme, that woman. No. Yeah, there was so much. And sentence per sentence, I was changing my face. Anyway, Anyway, and thank you guys so much. Again, please remember to subscribe to the channel here or head on over to the Outlaw Nation channel. Subscribe there as well. So much content coming up this week over there as well. And there'll be some reviews coming out for some films that are coming out as well. Pop it up on my channel. We'll have some fun. I got Craven tomorrow night. So, yeah. What?
Lamar was the last pick of the first round, bro.
Yeah.
They let Lamar go. Oh, my God. The whole league slept on Lamar. They smoking crack.
He was great at Louisville, too. I never understood that. You can follow me at The Roca Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and leave your comments down below. Let us know what you thought about everything we discussed here tonight. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of Game Time. Dude, perfect.